Alright everybody, so I'm back with another video. In this video I'm using a not that good of a photograph. It's quite a bit darker than I normally like, but I enjoyed the picture enough and the challenge of using a difficult picture to try and make it into a decent portrait. I opted not to do the body and all that just because I was going to do just a quickie. This is a little quick Saturday afternoon. I think it took me all of like an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half, something like that. So I prepared this watercolor paper with acrylic black that's been watered down a little bit, and then I put my clear gesso once that dried with the pumice worked into it, the mix that I use, and that adds teeth or tooth to the paper. And it's approximately 12 by 18 inches. And so I'm trying to do a portrait using just gray tones. I got the Stabilo brand is what I'm using, if you're curious. And I thought, I've done white charcoal on black paper before, and the challenge there was to not use the black charcoal or anything like that, and then I would just erase the black lines. But here I decided I wanted to try to get all the gray tones using the gray pencil that I have. So in the beginning that you saw there was I just put the highest and lowest spot, which is the top of her rag there, top of her head, and the bottom of her chin. And then I just measured towards the middle, which in her it would turn out to be something like her upper eyelid. And then I just did the top half, just kind of eyeballed where the forehead meets the bandana. And then I eyeballed not really eyeball, but I kind of measured real quick the distance down to the nose and then onto the mouth line. And then I started just drawing. Again, I wasn't really going for a whole lot of accuracy. I just wanted to play with this technique of using gray tones on black paper. It's pretty difficult, just like when I've done my white chalk on black paper, which I think I got a video, I believe it was Darth Vader, where it's just white charcoal pencil, and that's it. Here I used grays, and then to go and add some of the darks back in, I actually used my charcoal black pencil, like around the cheek and all that. You'll see that here in a little bit. I used a brush to blend, but mainly a stump. And what that does, it kind of makes it where all that loose material that's sitting on the surface actually embeds itself into the actual fabric of the paper, and it won't smudge as much. So I use that, and then the big brush you keep seeing me use there, it's only when I use the little eraser to get out a mistake, or if I'm trying to, clean something out, I'll use that little clicky eraser thing, looks like a little pen, and that's why it leaves like these little, eraser bits. So I use that little, that fluffy brush to clean all that stuff off, and it tends to not really blend out the charcoal grays that I've been putting down as much. So it's just to clean the surface. Here I am cleaning again. You saw me use the brush that I just spoke about. But again, I wasn't going for hyper accuracy or anything. It was just an experiment. Really, as an artist, you need to be able to play with techniques, materials, whatever, and not be so scared to try something because you've never done it before. Because you're never going to get better, and you're never going to know until you try it. And so I've been thinking about this for a while. I said, what the heck, I'm going to try me some gray tones. Usually I blend white into black and do it that way. So here I just kind of try just a different way of doing the same old thing. And it was fun. The paper surface is a little more aggressive, so it really grabs onto the material. When I usually use the Canson paper, the Canson pastel paper, and I use the backside where it's a little smoother, it doesn't really grip the pastel as much, so you get kind of a darker effect. A lot of that black will show through the material a bit more. But basically, I just stuck to white, my charcoal black, and then like I think like 3 shades of gray in between, dark gray, then something a little lighter, then like a nice lighter to mid gray, and that's it. That's really about it. It's like I want to say 4 or 5 different black white shades of pencils that I used, and the stump was really good. But I found that to make this work, I had to give like a foundation layer. So I used the gray, the darker gray. If I had to redo this again, or if I were you and watching this video, I'd probably go in with a dark gray that you see around the cheek area, and I would probably do the whole skin area, the whole face with that, and then build on top of that. Because what happened was the black, it's so strong, it kept wanting to show through, and once you get that nice layer, it makes it a little bit smoother, and then on top of that you could just add your lighter tones. So if I had to do it again, I definitely think that I would put that dark gray down first. It was kind of hard trying to figure out all the values when you're working on a black background, but it was fun. It was challenging in that way. Sometimes all this portrait stuff becomes a little bit boring to me, and challenging myself with something I've never done kind of makes it exciting again. Sorry about the angle on the camera, but I got this little apparatus and I put it on top, and it kind of distorts things, but you know, I'm always so limited on space on where I can put the camera. But anyways, you just saw me put can't really see it much, but it's a light coat of the dark gray over the bandana she's wearing. There it is again. And then I just started blending it in with some slightly lighter, like a dark mid sort of gray. Then I started putting in some of the highlights with the middle gray. I always try to not go the full extent of the value. Like I want to put in the black, and I don't want to put in the bright white, because it's just, I want room to grow in case I make a mistake. So I tend to just do the gray tones, and then I leave room to put in some white or lighter gray, and start putting in all the lighter ones on top of the darker. It seems to work out better that way. But it was fun doing this. I think it's a great exercise to teach you values, how to see and how to get your values correct. That's a very tough thing to teach. People ask me, hey, shading, values is your darks and lights, and people always ask you about shading. And shading is one of those things that probably the hardest thing to explain, because how do you explain to someone, it needs to be darker, besides telling them it needs to be darker? If I say something is a value 7 or a value 3, you get 10 different people in a room, they're gonna guess 10 different answers. That's just too vague of an idea. So it's basically comparing one area with another area and saying, well, it's darker than this, or it's lighter than this, and it's a lot lighter or a lot darker than that other area. And that's how you basically gauge it out. I usually try to, if I'm doing a gray, I try to see it, compare it to the black, or to the darkest area and to the lightest area. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of somewhere in the middle, or it's closer to the black, or it's closer to the darkest area than it is the darker. So I know it's got to be something like a middle dark, and like that. That's how I just kind of compare one thing to the other constantly. And that usually works out relatively well. At least it gets me to, from point A to point B with very few problems. But try this exercise. I thought it was a lot of fun. You don't need, fancy paper or anything. You can they got sketchbooks with black paper out there that you can use, and try that out and see how it works for you. And hopefully, if you're successful, even if you're not, message me. Let me know, hey, I completely failed. Hopefully that's not what you say. I hope that you succeed, or even when you fail, it's not a failure. The only time I consider something a failure is when you don't learn. if you learned something new, if you tried something, you know what? I just learned I pressed too hard, I applied too many layers, or whatever mistakes you saw yourself making, yeah, then it's a success because you figured out something that you didn't know before. And that's basically what it is. It's time on pencil. You just got to put the time in on that pencil and on that paper and just do it. And if you screw up, so what? Who cares? At least you're not on a video screwing up with people commenting how much you screwed up or anything like that. At least I hope not. So, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new. And again, try it. Get some black paper, get some white charcoal paper or pencil, excuse me, and try it out. Or in this case, what I did here is using some of the different gray tones and see how that works for you. All right. Well, have a great day.